Hey, this is Pat, and today we're checking out the Thor Fleet helmet. Now, the Thor Fleet helmet is going to be one of their entry-level options within Thor's line. It's not the entry-level version, but it is right at the $170 price point, so it's about the second one within the line if you are looking for price point-oriented options with a couple features in there that I think are really emanating from their Supercross racers as well as a lot of their test riders out there using the top-of-the-line Thor helmet. So I like it at the $170 price point. I think it flows a ton of air. It's pretty lightweight, coming in at about 3 pounds, 3 ounces in a medium, so not overly heavy like we see with like Bell Moto 10s, which are up in like the 3.6, 3.7 area. Not as light as something like the Fly or the One Industries helmets out there. But again, at this price point, it's hard to argue that it's not right in the middle of the weight range. You are getting 2 shells throughout with a polycarb ABS mixture, which is a plastic shell all the way throughout. And like I said, it's 2 shell sizes with the split right at medium. So the size ranges from extra small up to medium and large up to 2 extra large for that second shell size. And there's also going to be 2 different EPS liners inside of it. One thing I want to call out, Joe, with the shell is just how narrow it is. You would think with a helmet as narrow as this, it would fit very long oval, but the internal fit is going to be intermediate oval, so a little bit longer front to back than it is to side, fits most of the riders' heads out on the US market. But I will say, usually with that intermediate oval, you get a little wiggle room to each side for round or a little bit longer head shapes that can make it work. I would avoid this helmet if you are a round oval head shape. It's very narrow on the inside, just like it looks like on the outside. It is narrow, very, right along the temple, so I don't think you're gonna get a lot of give, but still right in that intermediate oval range for the overall fit, just not something I think you can sneak away with if you are a bit rounder on the spectrum. When you're looking at the ventilation, 7 intake vents, 8 exhaust vents throughout the entire shell, and it fits true to size. I'm a medium in every helmet out there on the market, and this medium is no surprise there. Very comfortable right out of the box. When we start looking at the shell itself, let's talk about the ventilation up front first. One thing I love is they're backing this front vent with a debris or mesh guard on the inside that you can remove, clean out, just helps keep a lot of the dust directly out of your mouth or out of your nose while you're out there ripping. But one thing I want to call out is very mountain bike oriented in its overall shell design. Why I say that is because of these vents over at the jawline. We typically see that in the mountain biking world. We've seen it kind of come into the motocross and trail riding industries, but I like that little crossover. That just adds great ventilation right before the cheek pads to go into the face and really help cool you off on hotter rides, like say if you're riding in the middle of the summer, or if it's just a really muggy day out there, you get a lot more ventilation coming through there, and a massive eye port at the front that can take anything from like 100% our mega goggles, Lee at 6.5, some of the biggest goggles out on the market will fit just fine. And if you need a little bit more ventilation, you can go with a smaller set of goggles that'll add ventilation ports to your face up and around the edges of the front helmet. One thing I want to call out too, ventilation up at the top brow helps get a little bit more through, but that goes directly to the EPS, so it's going to help cool the top of the helmet and the top of the liner off there. Nice clean lines on the side with a flat area for the silicone of the goggles to grip, and that is matched by a nice large rear section that is going to be flat, allowing that silicone to grip on there, not move around if it is a rain race or a mud race, or if you just don't have it quite lined up. A little bit of a spoiler built into the rear just to help stabilize the air back with ventilation at the back. You do get ventilation at the top and bottom, but one thing I want to call out is the ventilation on top is probably my favorite. That's going to allow a lot of that hot air to come radiate off your head, catch the wind, and pull away from the helmet. And if you need a little bit more, you can always turn it into a vent by just tilting your head down, getting that air directly into those ports. But I like that they've covered it with a little bit of a 3D mesh style hexagon pattern over top just to keep any debris out. If it is raining, that's going to be somewhere where water can get in, but usually if it's raining, as long as it's not a colder month in the year, that's going to be nice and cooling on your head. So I usually like seeing that. Whenever you cover it too much, it's going to stop the ventilation coming out. So I like that they've added that. Non-adjustable peak up top. It does have a nice curve to it for aerodynamics, but it is non-adjustable, so you can adjust it. One thing I want to call out is it just snaps actually on the side into the shell of the liner, or I'm sorry, into the shell of the helmet itself. It's just pretty simple plastic snaps on the side. I do prefer when they actually use screws on the side, like breakaway screws or plastic screws, just to make it a little bit more secure and easier to take off or put on. Just makes it a little bit more reliable. These plastic pieces can wear out over time, so I don't like that, but I will say it is pretty secure up against the shell, so I do like what they're doing with that. But we can switch from there and go to the inside of the helmet. Well, I'll just pull out the top liners. And just moving the cheek pads in there, you can see it's a nice moisture wicking, removable, washable liner in there. Nothing, like I said, that's too crazy in its design, coming in at that $170 price point, but a nice 3-snap system that you can go ahead and slide into there. So pulling out both sides and taking a peek at the inside, again, there's the other cheek pad on there. You do get speaker pockets on the inside of here with a double D-ring closure system on the outside, but you do get speaker pockets tucked in at the backside of the cheeks. Again, if you want to run, say, something like Harman Kardon speakers or JBLs, it is 45 millimeters in its width, so it's going to be able to handle almost all of the top Bluetooth comm system speakers on the market. And just remove the top liner here. Now, one thing I want to call out, you got to see me struggling with that. Take your time pulling these top liners out. The tabs on these are a little bit on the brittle side. You can see I actually broke these the other day while I was out test riding it. Just want to make sure that you're just taking your time pulling it out there. And Thor, if you're listening at this price point, let's just go ahead and reinforce those top tabs. Just make sure that you can easily remove it, wash the liners if you need to do so. That's something a lot of riders are going to be doing out there just because it is a heavy sweating industry. It is a heavy sweating hobby. You want to make sure that you're cleaning the top liners. But inside the helmet is when we see some of the things that I think punch well above the $170 price point. And these are the ERT pads inside the helmet to help reduce more the linear, rotational, as well as the low speed impacts. ERT is another technology that Thor has gone out and gotten added into here. There's 9 different sets of that polymer inside there, so 9 different impact zones protecting the head. It's nice soft material. It sits on top of the EPS, just allows a little bit more of that impact absorption, both, like I said, rotational, linear, as well as a few other speeds that you can get that protection in there. I like it. I think it looks pretty sweet, and I like the addition to it on top of the EPS liner. And when you're looking at the EPS liner, you can really see all the ventilation ports running through from the front to the back of the helmet. Really just helps pull all that air in from the front of the helmet and allows that hot exhaust air to leave as easily as possible. So I think they're doing a pretty solid job. I love the inclusion of the ERT system. Again, usually when you're looking at additions in safety, you're typically looking at the $200–300 price point, but I like that Thor is tossing it in their $170 helmet to get a little bit more safety built into the inside of the helmet, thinking about the riders first. So I like that. Again, looking at a pretty lightweight shell, 2 shell sizes all the way throughout, coming at that $170 price point. I think Thor did a knockout job with the new Fleet helmet. But if you have any other questions on this helmet, click that info button. That'll take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders have to say. Don't just take my word for it. If you still have questions after that, if you're trying to figure out the right sizing or if the head shape is right for you, again, resting on that intermediate to long oval edge of the market, go ahead and give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the all-new Thor Fleet helmet. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.